The stench of stale ramen and desperation clung to my threadbare sweater like a second skin. Outside the window of my shoebox studio apartment, the city lights blurred into an indifferent kaleidoscope, each flicker a reminder of the vibrant life I couldn't afford. My name is Alex, and at 28, I was a master of scraping by. My days were a monotonous cycle of juggling two part-time jobs, barista by dawn, freelance graphic designer by dusk, both barely enough to cover rent on this glorified closet in the grittiest part of the city. Forget dreams. Survival was my full-time occupation. My grandmother, bless her optimistic heart, still believed I was on the cusp of artistic greatness, comfortably settled in a cozy downtown flat. The truth would break her gentle spirit, just as the constant strain was breaking mine. Each rejection email from a potential client, each unexpected bill, felt like another stone added to the already crushing weight on my chest. There were days I'd stare at the peeling paint on my walls, wondering if this was it. If this perpetual struggle was my predetermined destiny. Hope felt like a cruel joke, a luxury for those not living paycheck to pathetic paycheck. That Thursday, a cryptic email landed in my inbox, breaking the monotony of bills and spam. It was from Uncle Arthur. My rich uncle, as the family always called him, was a man I'd seen perhaps 5 times in my entire life, usually at mandatory holiday gatherings where he'd glide in like a benevolent ghost, offering pleasantries before disappearing back into his world of private jets and polo matches. He was my mother's elder brother, a self-made titan of industry, a man whose wealth was as vast and untouchable as the night sky. The email was short, almost jarringly so. Alex, I'll be in town next week. I'd like to visit your apartment. Please confirm your availability. No pleasantries, no explanation, just a command. My stomach churned with a mixture of dread and bewildered curiosity. Visit my apartment? The thought was ludicrous. My apartment wasn't a place one visited. It was a temporary holding cell for a life in limbo. What could he possibly want? Was it a charity check, a grand gesture of pity? The idea felt both demeaning and, in my desperate state, strangely appealing. Yet, a part of me recoiled from the potential humiliation of him witnessing the stark reality of my existence. I pictured his designer shoes treading across my stained linoleum, his tailored suit brushing against my sagging couch. The contrast was almost comical, almost tragic. I spent the next few days in a frantic, futile attempt to make the place presentable. I scrubbed, I decluttered, I even bought a cheap air freshener that smelled faintly of regret. It was like putting lipstick on a pig. The apartment remained what it was, small, worn, and deeply depressing. My anxiety mounted with each passing hour. This wasn't just a visit. It felt like an inspection, a judgment. A few days later, a second email arrived, even shorter than the first. See you Friday at 3 p.m. Don't worry about tidying up. Just be yourself. The last line was unsettling. Be myself? In this apartment, for him? The thought alone was exhausting. Friday arrived, dragging with it a suffocating humidity that mirrored my internal climate. My heart hammered a frantic rhythm against my ribs as the grandfather clock in the distant hall chimed 3. A faint knock echoed through my flimsy door. Taking a deep, shaky breath, I pulled it open. There stood Uncle Arthur, not in a suit as I'd imagined, but in smart casual attire, an expensive-looking cashmere sweater and tailored trousers. His silver hair gleamed, and his blue eyes, sharp yet kind, met mine. He stepped inside, took in the cramped space with a slow, deliberate gaze, and then a faint smile touched his lips. Alex, he said, his voice a low rumble. Thank you for having me. Now, tell me about your apartment. What do you think of it? I stared at him, dumbfounded, the question hanging in the stale air like a riddle I couldn't solve. I had no idea what he meant. What was there to tell? It was just an apartment, a tiny, struggling reflection of my life. I stood there, mouth slightly agape, the silence stretching between us like an elastic band about to snap. My apartment. I finally managed, the words tasting flat and stale. What do you mean, Uncle Arthur? It's just an apartment. Small. Old. You know, a place to sleep. I gestured vaguely at the cramped living area, the half-eaten instant noodles on the coffee table, the overflowing laundry basket. Every imperfection suddenly felt magnified under his calm gaze. He chuckled, a soft, warm sound that seemed out of place in my dingy space. No, Alex, I don't mean its current state. I mean your apartment. The one you dream of. The one you'd create if resources weren't an issue. What do you envision? My mind, accustomed to calculating every cent and compromising every desire, simply went blank. Dreams? I hadn't allowed myself the luxury of dreaming about living spaces in years. Survival had stripped away such frivolous notions. I don't know. I stammered, feeling foolish and exposed. I just want something bigger, I guess. With natural light. And maybe a real kitchen. The words felt inadequate, hollow. Uncle Arthur's smile widened. Is that all? No specific layout? No particular style? No thoughts on how it should feel when you walk in after a long day? He wasn't judging. He was genuinely curious, almost coaxing. It was unnerving. He wasn't looking at my rundown reality. He was looking through it, searching for something deeper. Suddenly, a dam broke. All the suppressed desires, the fleeting glances at design magazines, the imaginary Pinterest boards I'd never allowed myself to create, began to flood my mind. Okay, I said, a strange excitement bubbling up through my anxiety. Okay, if I could. It would be open plan, definitely. Lots of light. Yes, but specifically a large window overlooking, well, maybe a park or even just a quieter street. I'd want exposed bricks somewhere, for texture. A proper desk area, not just a corner, where I could really spread out my work. And bookshelves, floor to ceiling, crammed with books and art supplies. A kitchen with an island, a big one, where friends could gather. And the feeling, it would feel like a sanctuary. A place where I could breathe, create, and just be. As I spoke, the words gained momentum, painting a vivid picture in the air between us. My hands began to gesticulate, sketching invisible lines in the air. He listened intently, his gaze never leaving my face, a flicker of something unreadable in his eyes. When I finished, breathless and a little embarrassed by my unexpected outburst, he nodded slowly. A sanctuary, he repeated, almost to himself. I see. And what about the building? The neighborhood? The story of the place? This was getting stranger by the minute. My landlord had no story beyond late rent notices. Yet, his questions sparked another forgotten corner of my imagination. The building, it would have history maybe. High ceilings. And the neighborhood would feel safe, community-oriented. Not sterile, but vibrant. Like a place where you could actually live. Then, his expression shifted. The gentle smile faded, replaced by something more serious, almost contemplative. He looked around my small apartment again, but this time, I felt no judgment. It was a look of understanding, almost pity. Alex, he began, his voice softer. I've been watching you. Your grandmother talks about you constantly. She worries. And I've seen your work online, the freelance projects. You have talent, significant talent. But talent needs fertile ground to truly blossom. He paused, letting his words sink in. I'm not here to offer you charity, Alex. I'm here to offer you an investment. An investment in yourself. I'm building a new complex downtown, a mix of residential and artist studios. High ceilings, natural light, great community, everything you just described. And one of the larger units, is available. On one condition. My heart hammered against my ribs, a chaotic drum solo of hope and disbelief. A complex downtown? Artist studios? It sounded like a fantasy, the kind of place I only saw in magazines. Condition? I whispered, my voice barely audible. Yes, he said, meeting my gaze directly. You manage its design. From the ground up. Not just your unit, but a significant portion of the residential aesthetic. You show me what sanctuary truly means, what vibrant community looks like. And the rent will be deferred for 3 years, with an option to buy at a fixed, incredibly favorable price. This isn't a handout, Alex. It's a challenge. An opportunity. Are you up to it? The air in my tiny apartment suddenly felt too thin to breathe. My rich uncle hadn't been asking about my apartment as it was, but as it could be. He'd been asking about the blueprint for my future, hidden within my desperate dreams. This wasn't charity. It was a test. A test I never knew I was being given. And the weight on my chest, the constant burden of scraping by, suddenly felt lighter, replaced by the dizzying, terrifying thrill of possibility. The following months were a whirlwind. The sanctuary I described in my cramped apartment once a fleeting fantasy, was now a tangible project. Uncle Arthur, true to his word, was hands-off but incredibly supportive. He introduced me to architects, contractors, and suppliers, all of whom, to my surprise, treated my ideas with genuine respect, not as the whims of a naive novice. My days shifted from chasing meager freelance gigs to poring over blueprints, selecting materials, and overseeing construction. The contrast was stark, almost disorienting. One moment, I was worrying about my next meal. The next, I was deciding on the perfect shade of polished concrete for a lobby floor. The central conflict quickly became internal. Could I, Alex, the master of scraping by, truly design something so grand, so filled with hope for myself and others? Imposter syndrome was a constant companion, whispering doubts in my ear late at night. Yet, with every design decision, with every brick laid and every window installed, a new confidence bloomed. I found myself drawing on years of suppressed creative energy, the very dreams I'd locked away, now pouring onto canvases, or rather, architectural plans. My vision of a sanctuary evolved, not just for my unit, but for the entire building. I designed shared creative spaces, a rooftop garden for urban solace, and even a small, affordable cafe on the ground floor to foster community. A pivotal moment came when I was struggling with the design for the main entrance. It felt too sterile, too corporate. I remembered Uncle Arthur's cryptic question about the story of the place. What story did I want to tell? I thought of my grandmother, her unwavering belief in me, her cozy, cluttered home filled with warmth despite its modesty. I thought of the vibrant street art I'd seen in my old neighborhood, and the resilience of people making beauty from scraps. That night, I sketched out a concept for a living wall of reclaimed wood, etched with subtle, abstract patterns that hinted at growth and transformation, leading into a welcoming, sunlit atrium. It was a fusion of urban grit and natural serenity, a testament to thriving against odds. When I presented it to Uncle Arthur, he simply nodded, a deeper, knowing smile on his face this time. That, he said, is truly yours. 3 years flew by in a blur of dust, paint, and relentless creativity. The complex, now named the Lumina Collective, stood as a beacon of modern design, yet it retained a soulful, lived-in feel. On opening day, the place buzzed with life. Artists moved into their studios, families unpacked in their new homes, and the cafe brewed its first batch of coffee. I walked through the halls, touching the exposed brick I'd insisted on, feeling the natural light stream through the colossal windows, and a profound sense of accomplishment washed over me. My apartment, my true sanctuary, was everything I had imagined and more. It had high ceilings, floor-to-ceiling bookshelves overflowing with my growing collection, and a massive island in the kitchen where friends now gathered, their laughter echoing through the open space. Uncle Arthur stood beside me, surveying the vibrant scene. "It's magnificent, Alex," he said, his voice laced with genuine pride. "Even better than I envisioned. You truly understood what I meant." He then explained. Years ago, he had started his own empire from nothing, living in a tiny apartment, but always dreaming of a grander space, a personal sanctuary. He had heard about my struggles from my grandmother and saw a parallel in my journey. He wasn't just offering a building. He was offering a chance for me to build my own dreams, just as he had, and to share that opportunity with others. It was never about my current apartment, but about the blueprint in my mind. The lease agreement for my unit, which he now handed me, contained not a deferment, but a full ownership transfer. A gift, he stated simply, for reminding me what true vision looks like, and for showing me that a real sanctuary isn't just four walls, but the spirit you infuse into it. Tears welled in my eyes. It wasn't just a building, it was redemption. Redemption from years of feeling unseen, unheard, and perpetually insufficient. It was a testament to perseverance, to the belief that even from the grittiest corners, dreams could indeed take root and blossom into something extraordinary. My rich uncle had smiled and asked about my apartment, and in doing so, he'd helped me build not just a home, but a new life. If you liked it, subscribe to the channel and enjoy these other amazing stories.